Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited tonight to have John Albert Thomas here, who I came across some time ago, I believe maybe on Facebook, and was very impressed. Not only is he a life coach, which is in itself a whole wonderful avocation, but he writes beautiful compositions and also writes from the heart and also writes to help cure people. He basically helps people with their pain and does a marvelous job of um, kind of empathizing with them and giving them a vehicle to help them heal, basically, which I think is very exciting. So, welcome, John. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm so glad to be here,
Yeah.
share this evening with you and your audience.
Well, tell us first of all how music became a part of your life. Were you from a musical family to start?
Well, my mom played piano at our church when we were
Hmm.
kids,
Yeah.
and when I was 4, I got curious. She was at the piano practicing for Sunday, and then she started to teach me at age 4, and
Wow.
then pretty soon sent me to other piano teachers.
Yeah. And did you go through the typical classical curriculum?
Some basic,
Hmm.
I I don't know exactly which one it was, but it was, the little books that you go through when you're a
Yes.
little kid,
Yes,
remember
exactly.
that?
Yeah.
I did a little bit of, let's see, Indiana Jones and some other things that came
Ah,
along later on, the movie themes, that
I
sort of
love
thing.
it.
But
Now, you mentioned church. Did you also? I spent actually 4 years playing for a Baptist church and learned a lot about sight reading and the 1 4 5 chords and all the different scales and the keys and rather. Um, did you do any of that? Any church music along the way?
I haven't done a lot of church music, although I have played and sang at church some of my
Yeah.
own compositions.
Ah, okay.
I'm not the best sight reader or a sheet music reader. I can,
Me too.
but by the time my brain processes what I'm supposed to do next, the fingers should have been there a long time ago. So
Right, right.
that's been my experience.
Yeah. But obviously, you learned how to play beautiful music. And although we won't cover your Christmas songs tonight, you do a lot of nice things with Christmas carols and that sort of thing. So clearly, church related kinds of things. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And church is a part of your life too. The
yes.
whole you're very Christian. I mean, I just reading back on some of your comments and what you've been through in your life and how you deal with things clearly. Uh, so then, how did you decide at some point I'm going to make music a major part of my life? Was there a seminal moment when something happened, or was it just a natural thing that music's such a part of your life as a youngster that you couldn't see ever living your life without music? Maybe I don't know.
That's a good question. When I was 12, I said, I've had it with piano lessons. I don't want to play other people's stuff. It's just frustrating because I can't ever seem to get it perfect.
Yeah.
And so I quit. I quit piano lessons. But that's when I fell in love with the piano because I discovered I could make my own music and I could create a style that my brain and my fingers could figure out on it,
Hmm.
naturally that fit
Yeah.
me as a person rather than
Mhm.
me trying to be a classical pianist to try to get somebody else's music precisely perfect.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then how did you get into the world of life coaching and then that obviously played into your compositions as well? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Back in 2009, well, little backstory. Uh, I had got my degree at Samford University in December of 95, and it's a music theory and composition degree. And so my aspiration was to be a full-time musician in some form or fashion
Ah, yeah.
where I could be a composer. And but I was getting married and I knew I had to provide for my family and I didn't see a clear path forward. I didn't want to try to become discovered, and all those challenges, living on tour.
Mm.
Uh, and so I decided that I was going to go into computer software, which I hadn't taken any classes in college, but I had a friend of my wife's family took me on as an apprentice and taught me how to
Oh,
code.
wow.
Yes. And so I basically spent my entire career since then, even till this day, in the software industry,
Hmm.
uh, writing software. But in 2009, I had gotten to the point where I was about 13 years into my career, and I had so much angst. I was like, I'm supposed to be a full-time musician.
Oh,
Why
wow.
am I not there yet? If I
Yes.
only had time, I could make it happen. And so my poor wife, one day I came home and I said I quit my job with no plan.
Oh my
It
God.
it was I just had it. I
Wow.
couldn't take it anymore. And she was so gracious and she was like, all right, I'm with you through thick and thin. Let's see if we can make this work. And so she was very, very forgiving, very kind.
That's
So I did
wonderful.
that. And during that period, that lasted about 6 to 9 months before she looked at me and said, "You've got to go back."
Oh no.
You know, and uh and so but during that time there was a pivotal question. I had not had much success in releasing albums and gaining enough following, the financial reward for releasing albums. So I thought, well, how in the world can I make a living creating music rather than just releasing it and hoping people buy albums?
Hmm.
And so then I realized that the only way that people feel good about giving money to something is if it really serves them well. So, how do I serve people in the creation of music and not just the release of it? So, not just relaxation, not just, enjoyment, but really serve them in the creation of it. And that's where I had the idea of what if I make the music about them? What if I sit with them and listen to them, ask them about their story, and take notes, and then take those notes to the piano and let those notes be my sheet music.
Mm.
Not musical notes, but the words, the emotions, the thoughts, the ideas that they conveyed to me. And so really their life became my sheet music in that moment. And um and I'm sure tonight we'll hear a few of those.
Yeah.
But I was able to test it out with some people, and it was so effective. One person gave it to his wife as a gift, and it was just a meaningful evening for them as he shared, "This is what you mean to me, and this song is written inspired by you."
Wow. And how did you start
Yeah.
that up again? I'm not sure I followed how you actually got that going. What was the seminal moment that had you doing that?
Um, I actually ran a contest because I was like, "How do I price this?"
Mm.
I ran a contest with all of my music fans. I was like, okay, guys, what do you think I should charge for this?
Hmm.
And the winner of the contest would get a free music portrait, is what I called them. Well, at the
Wow.
time, I called them piano portraits,
Hmm.
but since then, I've changed it to music portraits.
Mm.
And so I ran that contest, and I had two winners. They had a tie, so I ended up giving away two of them.
Wow.
And that was one of them was that person, and another was another person that we knew, and I was able to sit down with both of them, get their story, and then I feverishly composed a piece for each of them and presented it to them. Kind of took the risk and said, "Okay, here's what I think I got for you," and they really liked it. They really it resonated with them to have a piece of music that was inspired by them or their
Mm.
loved it's a powerful thing for them. So I was
Wow.
like, I'm onto something. And but trying to figure out how to make that work from a business standpoint, I certainly wasn't able to figure that out in time before I had to go back to software.
So you did go back to software.
I did.
Uh-huh.
I did. And that's where I learned about after about a year and a half into there, they tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to become the director of development.
Wow.
And so I learned about management. And then I started to stick my nose into all areas of business because I kind of have a jack of all trades attitude about it.
Hmm.
Uh, and I just learned all kinds of things about this business, part of the business, and this part of the business. And it was like this big puzzle. And when I realized that a business is nothing but a big puzzle that you can solve, I thought, wow, this is exciting. This I can figure this out. I can see how things work and then, cobble together pieces
Hmm.
and then hand it off to somebody else to continue.
Right, right.
What I start, and then I'll go and solve another problem.
Hmm.
So that's how that's how I prepared eventually to be a coach,
Mm.
was really sticking my nose where it didn't belong in all these aspects of business and having leaders who gave me the flexibility to be able to have, make that kind of difference
Hmm.
in the company. And so at a certain point, I was like, I want to help people outside of my job, and I started to coach people, executives outside of my working hours.
Mm.
Meet them for lunch at a restaurant, and I would sit there and I'd ask them
Oh,
questions,
wow.
and I would just try to help them think through some of their biggest challenges and applying what I was learning
Hmm.
uh, by in my day job. I was able to help them have some insights into what they were doing.
Yeah. Did you have to go through formal training for that, or is that more by experience you were able to kind of share your history with people?
It was by experience,
Hmm.
and so there is definitely training. In fact, this past year, I've gone through a bunch of training and have been received my certification. So now I'm a certified executive life coach, high performance coach is what it's called,
Mm.
and so that gives me that little bit of extra, um, I guess, when people when people ask you, okay,
Right.
so how are you doing this professionally?
Street cred.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
I have a lot of, experience doing it on the side over the years, but
Hmm.
now I have frameworks that are proven. Um, the high performance coaching is one of the number one frameworks in the world used for coaching billionaires as well as
Wow.
teachers. It's
Yeah.
just
So you
very,
don't
very
just coach
flexible.
people that are going through a painful time in their lives. You're coaching people to improve their lives no matter where they are. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
The purpose there was to take a holistic approach.
Hmm.
So one of the ways that I coach is through that high performance, and
Hmm.
that's where you're employing the mind and you're employing your strength. But what about the heart and the soul? That's part of you that most coaches don't really tap into. Sometimes that's reserved for therapists and counselors, but how do you really help someone succeed if you're not addressing the heart and soul?
Mm.
So, and when you talk about heart, you're talking about feelings and desires. When you're talking about soul, you're talking about vision and calling. So I'm actually being certified right now. Plumline is an organization that helps do that. About a year ago, I had gotten to a place where um, it had been about two and a half years ago, I got into place with my music where I was like, I'm tired of marketing. I'm not seeing the results from all
Yeah.
my efforts.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've had it and I just got discouraged. But
Mm.
I didn't touch the piano for about a year and a half.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yes, I was so depressed. And I
Mm.
actually I got depressed.
Mm.
And we had other crises going on in the family.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I I became so apathetic and so depressed. I came to a place last year where I knew I needed help.
Mm.
I needed help because when you numb out your life where you can't experience the negative things, you
Mm.
also numb out the positive things. So you
Yeah.
can't experience joy,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
So I went and got coaching for myself.
Oh, wonderful.
And two areas that the two organizations that I am now getting certified in or am certified in, I um, I went through them myself, and they were so effective in helping me pull
Mm.
out of that
Mm.
that I was like, this makes sense to me. This is what I need to do, and so that's what I'm doing with my life
Wow.
is really helping people holistically with their heart, soul, mind, and strength
Mm.
love and serve God, themselves, and others, fully.
Mm.
Um, and so that's something that I'm trying to do, and music does play a part of that,
Oh,
right? When
sure.
you
Oh,
think
yeah.
about music portraits, you have You have the opportunity to sit down with somebody and meet them at their heart's need.
Mm,
We're all we are all born needing four things: um, to be seen, to uh, to have somebody feel with us, empathy,
mm, mm,
to have somebody who's willing to suffer with us,
mm,
compassion,
mm,
and somebody who delights in us.
mm.
And if we're missing those four things, any one of those four things, that's where we get stunted in our emotional maturity.
Mm.
And a lot of times that just happens when we're children, before we even
Wow.
understand what's
Wow.
going on. And so the power of music is such that the trauma happens in the limbic brain,
Mm.
where it has no language and it has no sense of time.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
so, as far as that part of you is concerned, it's current. And that's where you see, people get triggered with emotions that they're like, where did that come from? I don't even know why I reacted so strongly.
Right.
Right. That part has some hurt. And the nice thing about music is it's able to bypass language
Yes. In
and
fact, it
get
affects all parts of the brain, which is amazing.
it does.
Yeah.
It does. But when you can couple empathy and compassion
Mm.
with music, you have the ability to heal that little hurt person back there.
I love that. Yeah. In fact, for
And-
me, sometimes music has healed me. My own music, sometimes I look for it. There's one point where I lost 9 friends and family in 6 months, and I wrote a piece that helped me, called "To Friends and Family Past." I know you wrote a piece too at some point. Maybe we'll talk about that, a memorial piece in more. Should we start? I'd love to hear some of your music and
Yeah,
share it with people because you
yeah,
got so
sure.
much beautiful music. Let's first talk about Rebecca. So let me
Oh yeah.
share the screen for that. You can tell us about Rebecca.
Rebecca was my first music portrait. She
Hmm.
was my wife is Rebecca. We
Hmm.
Becky, she likes to be called, but Becky.
Oh, okay.
And I composed that piece at 2 in the morning. I Before we had kids, our first baby was a baby grand. And we were
That's
in
the
our
first time I heard
apartment,
that one. Yeah.
and uh and so I woke up at 2 a.m. with the idea of the letters of her name. Every letter in her name spell is on the piano except for the R. So
Mm.
EBECCA, that's all on the piano. It's like, but on a pager back in the day, we had pagers, the A
Yes.
and the R were identical.
There you go.
So I said, okay, what does AEBECCA sound like? So at 2 a.m., I'm sneaking over to the piano,
Oh, no
trying not to
kidding.
wake up. And I did that little melody, and I was like, I love this. I love this. And so the next day, I composed that piece, this
Wonderful.
piece right here.
So this
Is
literally is AEBECCA.
That's the melody. Yeah.
All right, let's hear it. This is great. Let me just make sure. I just realized something. They changed the interface on this. I want to make sure I'm sharing sound. Yes. Okay, good. Um, okay, here we go. Very beautiful. Very nice. I have to admit, I also love the story, and I won't go into all the detail here because we never get to the end of your songs. But you talk about how your relationship with Becky developed over time, and how there were some struggles along the way. And you learned how to be less judgmental and maybe more accommodating with the two of you. And I share that because sometimes in a relationship you have to learn how to let go of certain things and to be sensitive to other people's needs. And it's tricky. It's very tricky. I had a first marriage that did not work at all, and I'm very happy. I've met the wife of my life, Hillary, and she taught me a lot about how to be less judgmental and things like exactly like that. And I think a good couple kind of teaches each other how to work together, and I think that's just a wonderful thing that you guys have. So, thank you for sharing all of that. And so, folks,
Absolutely.
if you go to Bandcamp and then look up John Albert Thomas, you'll see this and a lot more stuff. How many albums do you have out, John?
I have 6 albums out and a few
Oh,
singles.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how about this next piece, In Memoriam? Do you want to talk a little bit about that before we play it?
Sure. Yeah. That piece was started off as an exercise in my music college.
Oh,
Um,
really? Oh,
yeah, it was a computer or electric keyboard MIDI class.
mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I got to come up with something for this exercise. And I ended up coming up with this tune and I even put in battle drums in it and all kinds of stuff. It was really cool.
Mm.
Uh, but the tune stuck with me. And so much so that when my wife and I got married, I ended up putting it as a prelude to a song that I wrote for our wedding
Oh,
and
wow.
I sang to her for our wedding,
Mm.
which none of these songs have me singing, but I did at the wedding. And and so I used it then. And then later on, when I created this album, I was like, I've got to put it on an album. So I put it on here. So it's just, one of those things that I don't know, it just felt like a hymn or like a anthem
Mm.
for solemn moments.
Mm-hmm.
They would be appropriate for war or celebration for wedding or whatever it was, where
Wow.
it's a kind of a holy moment, a sacred moment. So that's what that's for.
And this is from your Daddy Daughter Dance album, which I think is a great title.
You
And
know what the original title was?
no.
Piano Works Volume 2.
And how did
Somebody
you come up with Daddy Daughter Dance?
somebody said, you'll probably sell more albums if you didn't name it Piano Works Volume 2. And so I picked the song that I thought would resonate with people the most,
Yeah.
as far as the title goes.
Mm.
And so I picked that,
Yeah, that's a pretty
and
song too, by
it
the way. But
it was a
yeah,
good choice.
yeah. You're not the first person to struggle with that. One of my favorite pieces by Chopin is Berceuse, and he wanted to call it Improvisations in the Key of D flat. And Georges Jean said, no, call it Berceuse, which means lullaby. And I think that's partly why it became a big hit. So anyway, this is In Memoriam. That's beautiful. John, I want to ask you, when you write music, do you do it by ear mostly, or do you do it with a combination of music theory and construction of chord structure? How do you think about it?
Um, Probably the music theory is subliminal more than anything. It's
Yeah,
by ear,
yeah,
um, in ear and feel. But this piece, in college where we are more into theory, and this one is parallel fifths. If you ever want to study a piece on parallel fifths, this is a good one because the whole thing is parallel fifths.
interesting.
And that's what gives it that unique sound. And when you
Yeah.
play it on a live piano, like a really warm one,
Mm.
um, that's tuned just right, the reverberation of those strings, you can hear the rotation of the sound in the air. It's amazing.
So when you say, are you only moving up and down in fifths the whole time? Is that what you mean by that?
Pretty much.
Wow. Okay, that's very nice. Very nice. Now this next piece is called "In the Shadow of Your Wing." So
Yes.
by the way, you have some great titles. I also love the fact that Zuzu's Petals comes from um, A Wonderful Life.
Yes.
The petals in the pocket. Oh my God, that's just such a great reference. And so, what's in the shadow of your wing referring to?
Yeah. Jimmy Stewart was my favorite actor as a
Mm.
kid. That's what they were, and It's Wonderful Life meant so much to me. I still watch it,
Oh my
and
God, yeah.
but In the Shadow of Your Wing was one of the recipients when I was testing the idea of music portraits.
Mm.
So they were the Dan Miller, who was a career coach. Um, Unfortunately, he passed away this year,
Ah.
and it was sad because he's left such a legacy of helping people. He was one of my first coaches ever,
Mm.
and um, so he encouraged me with this idea when I presented to him, and I was like, "What should I price this at?" And he was like, $880 because there's 88 keys on a keyboard. And I thought, I like that.
That's
I like
great.
that a lot.
Yeah.
But he didn't have to pay that because he won.
Oh.
But in the Shadow of the Wing was inspired. Well, when I asked him, I was like, I was going to do a piece that was inspired by him, and of course, he was great inspiration. But he said, "Will you do it for my wife, Joanne?" I say, "Absolutely, I'll do it for her."
Yeah.
And um, so I got to sit on the phone with him, and for over 30 minutes, got to hear him rave about his wife. It was just the
Mm.
most wonderful experience,
Wow.
and I had so much to work with. But she has a ministry where she helps women coming out of the prison get back on their feet.
Oh wow.
And so I had that picture of her as a mama bird
Mm.
watching over these women and kind of helping them. And so I really wanted to capture that bird. And so if you listen to the song, you'll hear well, kind of a little bird song in the
I love
melody.
it. I love it.
Da 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 da.
Excellent. In the shadow of your wing. Here we go. going to stop it there. I apologize. We have so much to cover tonight. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah,
But
no.
I want to make sure we get a sample of all of these. Of course, there's many more. You know, out of the six albums, each of these has, what, 10, 20 songs? And so there's a lot of songs here, a lot of compositions. But we're going to give you a taste. Now, this next series is from a different album. Do you want to kind of set the stage for Now I Sleep?
Yes, sure. So in 2009, before I went back, I had tested out the music portrait idea.
Mm,
I squeezed in the Zuzu's Pedal album because I was running out of time and running out of money. So I put that out there quick to see if I could generate some sales.
mm,
Um, and while that was going on, I was also researching how can I um, provide music portraits as a service to photographers,
mm.
who do viewing sessions with photos. And
Yeah.
so it's a very important moment for families.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was exploring that, I stumbled across an organization called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep. And
Oh.
it's an organization where photographers will go volunteer to go to a hospital on a moment's notice and take photos of a family's baby who didn't make it,
Oh, wow.
who did not survive. So
Mm,
it was a great organization. And when I saw what they did, I was like, I can help these people too.
mm,
And it was kind of one of those moments where I was sitting there looking at it, and I really felt like God was whispering in my ear,
mm.
you need to do this.
Yeah,
And I was
absolutely.
like, I got to do it. And it just felt like a mission.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to them, and they gave me permission to post the idea on their forum. And within 2 weeks, I had 10 families wanted me to honor their baby with a song. And so I began the process of interviewing them. In the meantime, I had to go back to the corporate job,
Mm,
but I worked nights and weekends to interview them, get their stories, um, and then go compose their pieces over the next year and a half. And so that's what Now I Sleep is. It's really 10 songs that are inspired by these babies.
mm, mm-hmm.
Um, and that was such emotional. It really, it really tested my empathy level,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
sit and show compassion to these families,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to enter their suffering and allow myself to feel it, um,
Hmm.
and not run away from it.
Now, why do you call this one Scandalous Grace? There must be a story behind that.
All right, so this one is not inspired by the families. This was actually my first purchased music portrait.
Mm,
And so this is a bonus track on that album. I
okay.
needed to put it on an album. And so I was like, well, I'll make it 12 songs on the album instead of
Yeah.
10.
Yes,
This is a
sure.
bonus track on that.
Yeah.
So this one was inspired by a girl who's turning 21. Her mom wanted her to have a song to celebrate her kind of coming of age.
Hmm.
Um, and so I was able to kind of interview her and gather information, and so did that for her, and she presented it to her on her 21st birthday, and
Mm,
so that's what this was about. And Scandalous Grace was a quote that the girl had put on her. I don't. It wasn't Facebook at the time. It was a different
yeah. MySpace or one of those
website,
things. Yeah. Yeah.
MySpace, maybe
Yeah.
something like that, but
Yeah.
profile,
Yeah.
that she talked about Scandalous Grace, and I thought that really stood out to me, and so that's why I named it.
Wow. Okay. We're gonna play some of this. going to stop it here because I want to read some of the words that you quote her as saying because that's so beautiful. Is broken in this world, and I want to hold my tiny palms against the wounds so the healer can later restore. I'm just a girl in a red hat, a lily among thorns, a dreamer, a free soul with a heart that is deeply rooted. I treasure the art of listening and genuinely receiving, even if it means remaining silent. I believe in the practice Lectio Divina. I have a heart for the feeble and broken. I appreciate loyalty and honesty. I think the study of the tuning in the universe is mind altering. I believe in altruism and empathy. I'm a little dirt clod made from the dust, but hold the breath of my creator. I was once dead, but now I am alive. Just, oh my God, so moving. And, you know, if you read that and listen to the music at the same time, it's even that much more powerful. So thank you, John. Now, this one is even more touching because this is about um, this. Let's see, do I have? Oh, shoot. I think I lost the. Yeah, I think I lost this. Hang on, I want to bring it back. We have an interview with a couple
Oh,
that
oh,
was. Yeah,
the
here we
third
go.
tab there. Yep.
Yeah, so this is Oh, is it this one here? Okay, did you want to do it there? We'll do it there. I'm sorry. Okay, so this one is Now I Sleep. Now, this is specifically about people that have lost children, right?
Yeah, that's the album that
Yeah,
last song is a bonus track on, but
right.
these are those 10 songs that were inspired by those infants.
Family. So this is called Now I Sleep. Thank you, John. Now, is it okay if I skip Fly Away because we're running a little short on time, or should I
Yeah, yeah,
play?
absolutely.
So, what I wanted to get to was this is actually a couple that talks about, what they went through, and I won't play all of it, but I think some of this is very compelling.
And you can
We
hear their song in the
were
background.
thrilled to find out that we were expecting again. We had a 2-year-old at the time, and we're ecstatic. First appointment we went to, they told us there was major problems. Turns out that Christopher had a fatal genetic abnormality, and we were given the news that our baby would not make it full term. That was the beginning of our journey, learning a great deal about things we'd never thought of before. Obviously, it's no journey a parent wants to go down. It's not a road we were equipped for, or a road that we anticipated. So we didn't have a road map. The road was very dark, very many unknowns. It took a while, but we did smile again, and we did laugh, and that was a gift from the Lord. And in the midst of those dark days, it's hard to think of smiling and laughing again. I think this project brings hope to families who have experienced great loss. It also brings together many families who have experienced loss in the same way. A great thing for us was to know we were not alone. In our journey, in our process, we met some other couples that had been through something similar. And we were in the midst of our journey. We got to meet with a couple, and what struck us, they had lost their daughter full term. She lived for 3 hours, and we met with them to just talk about how we felt and the process we were going through. And what struck us is they were able to smile again, because in our journey on that dark road of what we felt like was thick mud and could hardly trudge through was, would we ever smile again?
Hopefully, as people hear this CD, this project, that the title of this particular song will remind them that they will smile again by God's grace.
Right. I kind of think of, when you named the song Smile Again, that there's hope when there's hopelessness. And there were many days that we felt hopeless, yet the Lord was there to give us, maybe it was just a small amount of hope to get us through the day. Sometimes it was just surviving. It was kind of our word for a while of we had to make it through. We had a 2-year-old at the time who her life went on, and we had to live for her and not get too distracted from it.
2 Timothy, Paul told Timothy that when you're faithless, God is faithful. And there were days when we didn't have much faith.
We had nothing.
That just very moving, very, very, very moving. Mm. Okay. So let's talk about your next album, Music Portraits. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so several years, for the next couple years, I had not worked on music portraits. I really focused on IT work. I worked at a bank, which you can imagine has lots of challenges in the IT world, and so that kind of consumed all my time and energy. But I was able to come back to music portraits, and I put out there, hey guys, I'm planning to do another one of these albums. Submit your stories. Tell me about your stories, and some of you, I'll select the ones that inspire me, and I'll make a song. So I put them out there, and I got a bunch of people submitted their stories, and I did it. I didn't charge them for it. And this particular one here, Blue in the Water, was some friends of ours from back when we were newlyweds. And they had lived in Memphis, and they used to go on Beale Street, and they'd walk as a couple, and they loved the Mississippi River and things like. They loved blues music, and I was like, well, I don't know how to play blues, so I had to do a quick kind of study to figure out, okay, how do I add a hint of blues to this song? And so I learned enough to be able to kind of bake in a little bit.
Excellent.
And it was enough for them to feel a little bit at home.
I love it. Okay, Blue in the Water. I love it. Could definitely hear the blues in there. That's wonderful. Hey, I want to spend a little time. I want to spend a little time asking you about all these beautiful images you use for your albums, like this heart here. Do you find those on the internet, or did you hire commission people to do those, or how did you come across these beautiful pieces of artwork?
Very good question. The person who inspired the next song did all the watercolor art for this album.
Ah, beautiful. So this is next what is called Light of Dawn.
Light of Dawn.
Yeah. Any little backstory you want to share before we hit it?
Yeah, this is a really good one.
Mm,
So until this point, I knew that music portraits meant a lot to people, but I didn't understand the healing power.
mm,
I the person when she submitted her story to me, she submitted it to me under a pseudonym because she had so much shame about her story.
wow.
And when I learned, you know, it was my friend. I didn't realize she had such a traumatic history.
Wow.
Um, I learned that she had dissociative disorder,
Mm,
um, severe obesity, was on 18 different medications,
oh my
um,
God.
just so much trauma
Mm,
had wreaked havoc on her mind and her body.
yeah.
And I asked for permission to share this,
Mm,
and she said I could.
mm,
And so when I did this song for her, a little shortly after, she let me know that for the first time, after listening to the song about 100 times,
mm,
she would just hold the phone on her chest and listen to her song over and over. Because it was the first time she really felt seen. Like
wow.
she said, it's the first time that somebody saw beauty in my story.
Mm,
And she said, it's the first time I felt loved by my husband.
wow.
Not because he didn't love her before, it's just that the trauma had prevented her from feeling those connections.
Wow.
And then since then, the transformation in her life, uh, the combination of compassion and empathy, somebody hearing and valuing her story, and
Mm,
having this music, she has she's now down to a normal weight. She's
wow.
off of her medications.
Oh my God.
She is integrated in her personality.
Mm,
And she's doing very well in
oh, that's
helping other people now who have experienced trauma.
wow.
So just a real amazing transformation in seeing that the power of music,
Mm,
when combined with empathy and compassion,
mm,
can really transform people's lives.
wow. Okay, so this is Light of Dawn. Wow. Now we're going to go a little long, and that's my fault. I just found out while you were talking in the beginning, I found out that I sent the wrong link to my posse. And so I had to send a link out. They didn't join until the first song, so we might take out a little bit of the front end, but I want to make sure we get these other two pieces in. So this is another album of yours, the ones we lost.
Actually,
And
this is a single.
oh, this is a single. Okay.
Yeah, the next two are singles.
Okay.
So at the point at which it became less cost effective to produce albums,
Hmm.
and and I also wanted to get songs out faster and faster.
Yeah.
I've pretty much switched to singles now because one, I don't
Yes.
have to practice 10 songs now.
Right.
I can
Exactly.
practice one, get it good, and
Yeah.
release it.
And then I want to ask you, so how do you make your money on Spotify, or what's the best way for people to support you?
Um, Certainly, well, I get the most money here on Bandcamp.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I also I'm on Spotify and Apple Music
Yeah.
and all those. Of course, the streaming you get fractions of a penny. So
Yes. Yeah. But
you know,
Bandcamp is better then in terms of revenue?
it
Oh, that's
is
good to
like you
know.
can buy all my albums here. See, it says buy digital discography.
Yes.
You can the entire collection for $32 and
Oh,
twenty
wow.
cents.
That's great.
And
Excellent.
they only keep like 15% of that.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Yeah.
All right, so let's play this. This is the ones we lost.
This was inspired by COVID. After COVID,
Oh my
and
God.
all the family members and friends that died, and that's how I grieved at the piano.
Yeah, yeah. You know, this really touches home for me because I had COVID very badly in March of 2020 when they didn't
Mm,
really know what to do yet. And I was in bed for 9 weeks, and there were
mm,
some nights I went to bed. I wasn't sure if I was going to wake up in the morning, so I come to as close as I want to get to the
yeah.
other side. So
Mm.
my heart goes
Glad
out
you're
to you.
here.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank
Mm.
you. Now, how about this next one? One's own meadow.
Yeah.
Beautiful
So
picture.
my daughter got married in December,
Ah,
and
congratulations.
my oldest, I have 4 kids,
Mm.
and she got married in December, and her name is Ainsley, and her name means one's own meadow.
Oh, wow.
And so I composed this while she was still living under my roof. And as I was composing, she'd yell down from this downstairs, from upstairs. She's like, "Oh, I like that. Oh, I like it when you do that." And she was kind of editing her own song.
I love
And
it.
but I worked on it and fashioned it, and so this was inspired by her.
Oh, that's wonderful. Just beautiful. Very nice.
Thank you.
You know, we have two daughters, Regan and Sutton. And Sutton got married first. I wrote her a song for her wedding. And then when Regan came along, I said, she's getting married. I said, you know, do you want me to do a song for you too? Because I could just give you the $1,000 it's going to cost me to do the orchestration and everything else. She said, Daddy, I want the song, which was the right answer. So they're
That's
both
great.
beautiful songs. They're both beautiful. So thank you so much for this hour. This has been wonderful. Your music is amazing, and not only is it beautiful to listen to, but also obviously has healing power, and your heart's in the right place, and it affects so many people in a positive way. By the way, when you announce these things, was how did you announce them? Was it on Facebook, or what vehicle did you use to tell people that you want to do portraits? I'm curious as to how you got the word out there.
Yeah, on Facebook I did.
Mm,
Um, Facebook I did. Well, in my bout of depression last couple years ago,
mm.
I made the foolish mistake of deleting my Facebook page,
Oh
and
no.
so now these days Facebook seems to sometimes randomly take away people's Facebook
Oh
pages.
God.
I
Yeah.
know a couple of artists that lost their entire history.
Oh, jeez.
So, but that's how I used to let it out. Now, yeah, I'm actually working on a website right now to help make it easier for people to be able to
Oh.
purchase uh, music portraits as a service,
Mm,
uh,
mhm.
for their loved ones.
Yeah. Oh, that's
And
wonderful.
I'm actually starting to I'm setting up a coaching program so that other artists, compassionate artists who want to learn how to do this and to do it well and to build a
Mm,
business around it as an additional revenue stream,
mm.
that they can be able to create have a sustainable living creating music for people.
Wow, that's a great idea. So before I open up to the group, I'm going to ask if they have some questions. I just want to share that I will not have one of these next week because I'm actually driving to Dover, Pennsylvania to play with New Age artist Greg Maroney, who I interviewed
Yay.
a couple of months ago. And he said, well, come play at my house. I said, oh my God. So that's going to be fun. The week after, I have Michael Doolin, who's a wonderful New Age artist. And then the week after that, I have Marty Epstein, who is a modern composer. And then the week after that, I have uh, Ricker Choi, who I met at a piano competition in 2008. He came in third, a very accomplished pianist, but he also is a very political person these days and basically writes music to free Hong Kong. And the challenge is that he lives in Toronto, luckily, but the people in Hong Kong that play his music get arrested. So he's got to be, it's a really very serious political issue there. Um, so anyway, now let me open to the floor. Does anyone have some questions that they'd like to ask John at this point?
Not question, but I really am grateful for the hour. It was fabulous.
Thank you, Trish. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for making it possible.
Oh, my pleasure.
That me? Am I here? I don't know.
Yeah, Effort, you're there. We can hear you.
It's like, no, my camera's off my face. I don't know why. I just, it's funny because I've been disapproving of the word soothing, even though it is, because it's more than that. And it's like, I mean, it's a way for people in need to kind of offload, and move,
Mm. Hmm.
certain issues into the other space. And it's like, and it has to do with what music does. And soothing is, it's too cheap a toss around word for me. I just,
Mm.
it's like,
Yeah.
because it goes beyond that.
Mm.
Mm.
And you're targeting people so much in need of empathy is really quite profound.
Yeah. Yeah.
And probably it's soothing too, but it's like,
It's soothing to the infinity power. I mean, it's a lot more than just soothing. You're right.
healing is good.
Healing.
We like healing,
Yeah.
Feelings.
uh,
Yeah.
but it goes deeper than kind of like yes, dear, kind of,
Yes. Yeah.
the,
Right.
the soft touch. Oh yes, that's nice. But
Right.
anyway, no, thank you very much. This is great.